Todas as redes sociais já foram viradas, pessoal. Início marcado realmente às 9. Bom evento para nós.
Valeu.
Valeu.
Valeu, Sérgio.
Valeu, vamos nessa. Hello and welcome to Porsche Cup C6 Bank Mastercard. We are at the Autódromo José Carlos Passe International Circuit, known as Interlagos in São Paulo, Brazil, ready to start this weekend that marks the beginning of the second half of the 2023 season. In the first round of Carrera Cup here this year, Interlagos, which launched the season, Nicolas Costa won race 1 on Saturday and Alceu Feldman took the checkered flag on race 2. Currently, Costa leads the championship, followed by Werner Neugebauer and Marcel Miller. In Sprint Challenge, Marcelo Tomassoni won the first race with Sadak Leite leading the way on the second one. Tomassoni is ahead of the standings after 3 rounds, with Christian Moore and Antonella Bassani behind him. Well, we'll be following now the qualifying sessions for this round, first Carrera Cup and then Sprint Challenge. I am Sergio Lago and I'm here with Carlos Costa. Hello, Carlos. We already have live images of the qualifying, the first session of qualifying for the rookie class of the Carrera Cup. Good morning, Carlos.
Hello, Sergio. Good morning. That's it. We have a lot of qualifying sessions this Saturday morning in Brazil. Very nice to see Porsche Cup back to Interlagos, one of its most traditional venues. Actually, we'll reach 200 races of this series in this track this weekend, so it will be very special, of course, for the organizers and the drivers as well. But a very good expectation for today's qualifying, and of course today's races as well. We will have 2 more races Sunday, but anyway, today is the most important day, I would say, because then you have a good momentum, you carry an interesting motivation if that's the case for Sunday. But anyway, we will see a lot of qualifying sessions throughout the whole classes in both of the championships, and we can expect good things. You talked about the championship standings. The situation is quite interesting in that matter as well, and we already have green flags, so let's wait and see who manages to get out on top.
Yes, Carlos, and yesterday we have the free practice happening in this circuit, so very interesting things happened. Marcel Miller was the fastest one yesterday in the Carrera Cup. We were following the qualifying for Carrera Cup, and the way it works, like Carlos said, is first we have the rookie drivers with the track for themselves, then we have the sports drivers for themselves. Let's listen to Renata.
Mas a vantagem é que tem um solzinho aqui, tá ajudando a gente a esquentar essa manhã fria de sábado. E o que tá esquentando também são os motores dos carros aqui, aquele clima meio tenso de quali. Ontem foi muito bacana que eu acompanhei os treinos livres por aqui. O Paulo Souza, por exemplo, que tá na pista, muito bacana ver a evolução dele aqui. A gente bateu um papo antes, ele marcou ontem o melhor tempo que ele já fez aqui na nossa categoria, então ele está muito feliz com o resultado. Na sequência ele não terminou tão bem quanto ele gostaria o treino livre, mas está bem satisfeito, estava animado, já foi para a pista. Eu falei, fez o melhor tempo até agora? Ele falou, não, o melhor tempo eu vou fazer agora na pista no quali. Então é legal que apesar do clima de tensão, a expectativa dos pilotos é boa, eles estão indo buscar, é bem competitivo, a gente sabe que essa etapa ela é muito decisiva também. Então eles estão vindo com sangue nos olhos, mas quem marcou o melhor tempo ontem, no final das contas, foi o Bruno Campos. E eu tô aqui para trazer todas as informações para vocês, a gente vai acompanhar em todas as baterias e bora, vamos esquentar esse sabadão.
Yeah, we heard there from Renata Diniz, our reporter. She was talking about how cold it is in São Paulo these days. We currently have 13 degrees Celsius in the Interlagos track, so it is cold indeed. We had a very cold evening yesterday, but anyway, the drivers, they have a good expectation now, 12 degrees Celsius. You see that the track temperature isn't that high. She was mentioning especially Paulo Souza's situation. He actually clocked his best lap time in the circuit in yesterday's practice session, so he has a good expectation. But when he was asked about his lap time, he said that the best is still to come. So very anxious for this qualifying session. Yesterday, the pace setter in the rookie class, as you said, was Bruno Campos. So it's a challenge for all of these drivers. And previously, we saw Nasser Boutaif spinning there. Sergio.
Yes, and as you said, Nasser Boutaif had a problem there. Fastest driver so far is Bruno Campos with 1:38.184. Paulo Souza in the Porsche number 25 is second best. And there we see the number 74 of Piero Cifali, who has currently the third best time among the rookie class. So he's trying to do a good work. Now we see number 9 of Edu Guedes. Edu Guedes, that I have the impression, Carlos, has not done a very good season so far. I was expecting more of him in this season. He's a driver who's been already a couple of years or more in the category. But anyway, he's currently with the 5th time, while we see also Paulo Souza trying to get ahead of Bruno Campos. Paulo Souza in the Porsche number 25, Carlos.
Yeah, so far so good for Bruno Campos, especially. He was fastest, as Renata said, ahead of Gustavo Farai yesterday. Then we had Paulo Souza. She mentioned Paulo's situation specifically, but just talking a little bit about Edu Guedes, I agree with you. Maybe he isn't shining as much as he could, but the good thing for Edu Guedes is the fact that he's been consistent, even though sometimes he doesn't have a very good weekend, if we can say so. He manages to grab some points, so the situation in terms of championship standings isn't that bad for him. He currently has 77 points, so second in the rookie class of the Carrera Cup Championship.
Yes. We have now the car of Bruno Campos. Bruno Campos, who has the best time. His time, Carlos, so far is 1 second ahead of Paulo Souza, who's in second. So we see also going off track. Whoa, hold on.
Nasser Abutaif once again.
Nasser Abutaif, yeah. He seems that he's not getting a good hold of his car.
Yeah, and there we see Gustavo Farah's car. Gustavo in a good performance, now quite close to Bruno Campos' lap time. Sergio.
Yeah, he got the second best time now. You're right. Two 100ths of a second behind Bruno Campos. Very, very close.
Yeah, but in this theoretically less competitive classes of both of the championships, Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge, sometimes we have bigger gaps. So the two front runners there, almost 1 second ahead of the pack. That's quite a lot. And let's wait and see if Paulo Souza and even Edu Guedes, that is already half a second behind Souza, they managed to get a good lap time. Theoretically, the track is evolving, but maybe they are overdriving a bit, as we saw with Nasser Abutaif.
Yes, and with with about 1 minute to go, Nasser Abutaif didn't get a fast lap, Carlos. His best lap is 8 seconds behind the leader. Of course, that means he didn't get a fast lap. Let's see if he has the chance. He had already 2 incidents on the track. It seems that it's not been a good day for him so far. But let's see what they do. Remembering that after this session, we'll have the session with the sports class drivers for the Carrera Cup, then the main Carrera Cup drivers, and then we have a final round that will define the pole position for the race with the top fastest drivers. Renata.
Yeah, Renata Diniz, I believe she was talking about Paulo Souza. He has a good sector 1 and 2, and then he has to get the third sector right there. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, now Edu Guedes is the third best, so he's, what I said, forget it. Edu Guedes, like I said, he's been consistent. He has the third best time, which is good for him so far, and he stays 0.3 of a second behind Bruno Campos, which is not that bad, you know. It's kind of close within the less than half second, so that's a good time for him. And Paulo Souza also gets, so now the top 4 are separated by less than 1 second, which is very good, Carlos, I would say, for the competitiveness of this category, of this class. You know, the category is the Carrera Cup, but this class of the rookie drivers.
Yeah, and look at Paulo Souza's lap time, top 3 for him, outperforming Edu Guedes. So his third sector was good, as we have now Bruno Campos with an even better lap time.
We see there Bruno Campos losing a little bit his line, but always good with the driver. And that's Edu Guedes. Oh, Edu Guedes, second best time, Carlos. Second best time for Edu Guedes. Great work by him.
Yeah, definitely. And Edu Guedes is always one guy to watch. Of course, we all know him from his TV shows in Brazil. He's a very famous chef in our country, but also a competitive driver. And as I have been saying, even when he doesn't get a good weekend in terms of grabbing podiums or victories, he's been able to get points, which is very important in terms of championship standings. That's why he's just 3 points behind class leader so far, that is João Barbosa. But anyway, a very interesting performance there from Edu Guedes, and we still have to praise Bruno Campos, because even though his rivals actually, they were able to get better lap times, he's still almost 2 tenths clear there, so we have to praise Bruno.
One thing we didn't mention yet, Carlos, is beautiful weather in Interlagos. Huh? Usually we have those clouds coming around. It's a winter day in São Paulo. I believe it's cold, like Renata said. It is cold for Brazilian standards, no, not for European standards, but for Brazilian standards, it's cold. But it's a beautiful weather so far. So let's expect that this remains during this weekend of Porsche Cup racing in São Paulo.
Yeah, as we see there, the rest of the back to sport class drivers and so on waiting to hit the track for the green flag. And just to mention, João Barbosa isn't racing this weekend, the class leader of the rookie drivers there. So that's a good opportunity for Edu Guedes, Gustavo Farah, Bruno Campos, especially Guedes and Farah, I would say, because they are quite close to Barbosa in terms of championship standings. João has 80 points. Edu Guedes, as I said, 3 points behind, 77 for him. And Gustavo Farah with a very interesting championship situation as well, with 75 points. So this fight of the rookie class is quite good in this 2023 season of Porsche Carrera Cup.
Yeah, I would say that will be almost certain that this will happen. You know, that he's going to lead the championship leadership, but let's wait. We have to remember that at the end of the season, they have all 2 points, 2 races to discard. It's 12 races total. We have 6 rounds with 2 races each weekend. Race this Saturday will be at 15th. Well, let's listen to Renata, then I'll say about that.
Então, João Barbosa não está presente porque está viajando com a família, não conseguiu abrir mão dessa viagem com as crianças e, enfim, não pôde estar presente com a gente. Esse é o motivo da ausência dele no nosso grid este final de semana, nesta etapa.
Yeah, Renata was talking about the reason why João Barbosa is missing this weekend. These races that we have at Interlagos is actually on vacation, traveling with his family, so family duties didn't allow him to compete. A lot of kids and so on.
É isso.
Yes, and what I was saying, Carlos, we will have the race 1 for this weekend. First for the well, let's listen to Renata again.
And that's Bruno Campos, the pace setter so far in the rookie class of the Porsche Carrera Cup Championship. Of course, we still have the rest of the classes, but so far so good, even though theoretically the rookie drivers tend not to advance into the final qualifying session, that will define top 10. In the championship overall, all of the Carrera Cup Championship drivers, the main class, the sport class, or maybe the rookie class drivers as well. Let's hear from Bruno Campos.
Mas a gente sabe que a condição de pista hoje diferente, né? O tempo muito mais frio, a pista mais fria. Foi por isso que você esperou para abrir bem no finalzinho e garantiu esse melhor tempo na última volta?
A gente tinha muito pouco tempo para andar agora e a pista muito fria, tem que aproveitar tudo para aquecer os pneus. Eu sabia que eu ia ter no máximo 2 voltas para entregar. Isso aumenta o nervosismo. Então, ao mesmo tempo que a gente consegue perceber que acertou o começo da volta, gera aquela pressão para terminar a volta inteira. Então, assim, a combinação foi muito boa, deu aí o primeiro resultado.
E que vem a primeira corrida, então, Bruno. Obrigada. Luque.
Yeah, nice chat there with Bruno Campos, as I said, the fastest so far. Actually, Renata was talking about the different track conditions that we have today compared to yesterday's free practice session. He clocked yesterday 1:36.564, and now he clocked 1:36.816. But of course, we have a colder track temperature today. So Bruno Campos was talking about how challenging it was to heat the tires, and because of that challenge, he knew that he would have something like 2 fast lap time attempts there in this qualifying session. So he was also talking about the fact that when you get the first sector, the second sector right, then the pressure to have a good lap time overall, so getting a third sector very well as well, it's quite tricky. So it was a difficult qualifying session for him, but happily he was able to get the first position there.
We see now the cars for the sports class. Number 80 is Roman Zinkiewicz. You see his peculiar livery. It's very interesting, always bringing nice liveries. And these Porsche Cup drivers in Brazil are getting each time more and more creative. which I like, Carlos. It's kind of an interesting situation, you know. We see different designs. Some artists are working on the cars, you know, to show different visuals. So that brings a nice. It doesn't change the competition, of course, but it brings nice visuals to the cars.
Definitely. Recently, actually, we had a hand-painted car. I believe it was also Feldman's car, but anyway, we always have very nice liveries, and from time to time, we have very interesting internet polls in which the drivers compete in terms of liveries as well. So that's a nice factor. And as you said, it doesn't change racing properly, but it's nice when you see beautiful cars and so on.
Yeah, race today, race one, will be following with us starting at 3 p.m. Brazilian time. It will be 2 p.m. US Eastern time or 6 p.m. GMT. So these are the times that you'll be able to follow us here in the Porsche Brazil YouTube channel, the English feed, for the first race this Saturday. On Sunday, we will have races earlier than usually we will have. They will start race 2 for both Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge will start at 11 a.m. Brazilian time, which will be 10 a.m. US Eastern time, or it will be like 2 p.m. GMT. So these are the times for the race tomorrow. Renata.
O segundo melhor tempo no quali da categoria Rookie. E foi uma. A gente tá vendo os tempos muito próximos, Edu. É muito disputado. E você lutou até o final ali. O que você acha que faltou para encaixar?
Eu acho que tá um dia frio, tinha pouca aderência também. A primeira volta eu dei para garantir um tempo razoável. A segunda eu melhorei. Talvez se tivesse um tempinho a mais eu melhorasse um pouco. Mas eu fiz para garantir um tempo bom ali.
É isso que a gente percebe, né? É pouco tempo de classificador.
E com o frio e demora mais para aquecer o pneu, na terceira volta ainda não tinha aquecido o pneu totalmente, então eu senti o carro sair ainda no mergulho, aqui no sol também, tentei fazer o melhor.
É isso, não, e garantiu a segunda, tá ótimo. E tá só começando, né? Tá só começando.
Tá só começando.
Valeu, Edu, obrigada. Luke?
We heard there from Edu Guedes, second in the rookie class qualifying session that we just saw. He was also highlighting the fact that the code is one extra challenging factor in this qualifying sessions. Of course, it's a quite short qualifying session, so actually Edu Guedes was reporting that he felt that the tires were not in the right temperature even in his third lap there. So it was indeed a challenge to heat the tires and get good lap times after you were, he, in this case, was able to hit the tires. So he had a decent first flying lap attempt, then a good second and one. And he said that had they have a little bit more time in this qualifying session, maybe he would be getting closer to Bruno Campos' lap time. But anyway, a good position there for Edu Guedes in terms of grid for today's races.
Yeah, so far, Bruno Campos from the rookie class is the fastest driver, but we see there by the times that the sports class drivers didn't hit their any flying lap yet for any of them. They should start doing this now. We have a little bit over 4 minutes to go. We see Nelson Marcondes putting himself in 6th, but of course the expectations is that he'll get a better time than that with number 199. He was the first one to hit the track, by the way. It was Nelson Marcondes. He was ahead of all the Porsches that are competing in this sports class. And also, it's important to say, Carlos, that the Carrera Cup sports class is the class with the most drivers. The sports class in Sprint Challenge has 9 drivers, but in Carrera Cup, we have 12 drivers competing. So this is a very competitive class for the Carrera Cup. And there are so many drivers that I'm really, I feel really good about that. This happening this year. Let's listen to Renata.
Para uma etapa como eu tô me sentindo nessa, assim. Então podemos esperar bastante aí do Régio Mascarello.
Yeah, interesting. She was talking about a chat that she had actually with Raijan Mascarello, the reigning Sprint Challenge main class champion, now driving in the sport class of the Carrera Cup Championship. So that's a promotion for him, if you can say so. And Raijan was reporting to Renata that he feels the car on his hand, let's put it that way. So very confident with his car this weekend so far, at least. So a good practice session yesterday for Raijan Mascarello, and let's wait and see. She bets that he will get a good result, and that will be important for Raijan Mascarello in terms of championship standings, because currently he has 37 points to his name, so a bit behind the class leader, that is Lucas Salles, one of the most accomplished drivers of this class, I would say, and from time to time actually fighting with the guys from the main Carrera Cup class. So let's wait and see what Raijan Mascarello will be able to do today, Sergio.
Yes, right now Raijan Mascarello has the 4th best time, as we can see there. It's a good work for him. You mentioned Lucas Salles. Lucas Salles was 4th best yesterday in the Carrera Cup free practice. So he had a great work. Nelson Marcondes leads the way with... Now we have a change there. We have Nelson Monteiro. We have now it's Raijan Mascarello. So it's been very competitive these moments. We have less than 2 minutes to go. Raijan Mascarello leads the way. Lucas Salles is second right now. Then we have Nelson Monteiro, pardon me, and Nelson Marcondes. And now everything changes again. We have Peter Ferter in the second position. Peter Ferter just 31/100ths of a second behind Raijan Mascarello, with Lucas Salles in third, all within the same 100ths of a second. So it's very competitive so far. And then we have in 4th place the car of Lineu Pires, who was also very fast yesterday in the free practice. He was 3rd best, only behind main Carrera Cup guys Marcel Miller and Werner Neugebauer. So Marcel Miller was the fastest yesterday. We'll see him hitting the track soon with the main Carrera Cup drivers. There will be a total of 6 main Carrera Cup drivers. These are the guys that really dispute the championship. And so far, a very interesting moment with Raijan Mascarello leading the way in this sports class qualifying session, Carlos.
Yeah, and as we could expect, an interesting level of competitiveness, as we can see in the lap times. The gaps aren't that big, or as big as we saw in the rookie class qualifying session. And now what a time there from Nelson Monteiro.
Yes, Nelson Monteiro really fast. We cannot forget, Carlos, that the top 4 there will have a guaranteed place in the Super Pole session. That will define the pole position among the top 10, because you have only 6 Carrera Cup drivers. Of course, one of the Carrera Cup drivers might have a problem or something. You might have 5 of these drivers there, but the top 4 for sure will go to the Super Pole, with now Lineu Pires in the number 888 leading the way. Wow, just 100th of a second behind number 87 of Nelson Monteiro. Great work by Lineu Pires. Then we have Raijan Mascarello and Peter Ferter.
Yeah, and apparently so far, Lineu and Nelson, they are in a league of their own, because the gaps are quite representative, I would say. But there's still time to come, and drivers in fast laps, is the case for Roman Ginkiewicz. Now let's wait and see. But anyway, very interesting qualifying session, and as you said, top 4 guaranteed in the final qualifying session of the Carrera Cup Championship.
We have there the Porsche for Roman Ginkiewicz. Roman Ginkiewicz got only the 10th best time among the drivers that hit the track so far. These are kind of last attempts to improve their times. Let's see if someone takes away the Lineu Pires' best time. We see coming Raijan Mascarello. He's 3rd so far, and I think he remains 3rd. Raijan Mascarello, so... which is not that bad, you know. He'll be competing in the final session. He can improve his time, of course. And we have to consider also, Carlos, that these drivers, they have different approaches. Some try to keep their tires in shape for the final Super Pole, for the final session. Some already opt to, use their tires the best that they can right now. And, so it's different ways of seeing the qualifying session, which at the end in the Super Pole, in the final session that defines the pole position, might make some difference.
Yeah, definitely. Some drivers, theoretically, they don't have the potential maybe to fight for pole position. So they go full throttle already in the first qualifying session. And then the drivers that are a little bit more consistent in terms of qualifying pace, they can think about the last qualifying session in order to fight for pole position, as you've mentioned. But so far, very good situation for the Neopires. Also, Nelson Monteiro, we talked about their lap times previously, but as you pointed, Jair Mascarello has room for improvement because he's in the top 3. And we have to highlight as well Peter Verter. Very good qualifying session from Peter, ahead of the class leader so far in the championship standings. Verter is ahead of Lucas Salles. Salles, as I said, with 70 points to his name, 2 points ahead of Georgios Frangoulis. Frangoulis also had a quite difficult session, P9 for the Oakberry driver. So interesting qualifying. Let's hear from Renata Diniz. Yeah, her audio is a bit weird. I believe she's talking to Neopires, but we cannot hear properly. So let's see if they fix this audio issue. But anyway, Lineu definitely has to celebrate this qualifying pace so far, and maybe ahead of some of the main Carrera Cup class drivers. Yeah, they still have an issue, but just talking about the championship standings, especially in the sport class division, it's interesting to mention the situation of the top 2. As I said, Lucas Salles and Georgios Frangoulis, especially Frangoulis with a difficult qualifying session. Also, Franco Giaffoni had a poor session, P8 for Giaffoni. He is in a good championship situation, currently 4th in the standings with 50 points, tied with Nelson Monteiro. Nelson Monteiro that had a good qualifying session. So maybe in today's race, we'll have some drivers getting a little bit closer to the front runners in terms of championship standings, Sergio.
Yes, and what we see, Carlos, is that the big battle for the championship in the sports class, the Carrera Cup sports class, is between Lucas Salles and Giorgio Frangoulis. They are separated by only 2 points. Then the drivers you mentioned, Nelson Monteiro and Franco Giaffoni, and also Lineu Pires, are a little bit behind. Nelson Monteiro and Franco Giaffoni are 20 points behind the leader, Lucas Salles. Lineu Pires is 22. But we have to remember, Carlos, that we are just starting the second half of the season. So the time the points they lost, they have the same time amount now, or the same number of races now to recuperate, not counting that the drivers will discard 2 races each.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see how they fare today, and of course tomorrow as well. But I believe the drivers always carry momentum from one day to another. So maybe grid position will be an interesting challenge for both of these front runners in terms of championship standings, both Frangoulis and Lucas Salles, as we see there. Images from the Termas de Rio Hondo circuit in Santiago del Estero, Argentina. And we'll have 2 rounds of Porsche Cup Brazil 2023 in this track. So 1 round of the Sprint Championship and 1 round of the Endurance Championship, as we had last year as well. So always nice to visit one of the most famous tracks that we have in South America. That is actually the venue of the Argentinian Grand Prix of MotoGP, as we now see the main Carrera class drivers hitting the track already, Sergio.
Yes. Now are the 6 top guys, let's say, of the championship. We see ahead there number 544 of Marcel Miller. He was the fastest yesterday with 1:35.366 in the free practice. Then Werner Neugebauer with number 8 was the second fastest yesterday among these guys.
Vou
Then we had
aproveitar
Miguel
perguntar pro Nelson
Paludo,
Monteiro, que agora
was
acabou de
fifth
cravar o
fast
segundo
overall, but
melhor
third
tempo
fast
na
among
categoria
the
esporte, vai pro top
Carrera
10.
Cup
A gente
drivers.
tá falando de
Now let's try
Argentina.
to listen to
Nelson, você gosta
Renata,
da
Carlos.
Argentina?
Even though we
Curtiu
have the
termas de
audio a
Rio
little
Hondo?
bit,
Curte correr lá?
with a little bit
Eu
of a
curti
problem.
muito lá, a terra do Rio Hondo. O ano passado foi a primeira vez que eu andei lá e achei a pista sensacional.
Yeah, we cannot hear
Acho que
Nelson
vai ser
Monteiro
grande
there,
desafio
but
pra
just
nós. Pra
talking
prazer
about
enorme correr lá naquele
the
circuito.
next rounds that we
Como foi
have this
agora?
season,
Temperatura totalmente
Sergio, it would be
diferente de
nice to
ontem.
see
Difícil com os pneus, bem
that in
diferentes para esses 40.
September the 2nd,
Sim.
actually, we'll have the
A pista
first
bem
Termas de
gelada,
Rio
demorou
Hondo
pouquinho pra gente conseguir
round in
ganhar
the
a
sprint
temperatura dos
championship.
pneus.
So
A volta
the
veio
next week,
depois do que eu
the
imaginava.
category stays in
E a gente
Argentina. So
ficou,
we have the
acho que
endurance
a
championship round,
10
the
centésimos
second
do P1.
endurance
Quer
championship
dizer,
round in
ficou
Termas de
muito
Rio Hondo.
próximo
Then
ali.
we have
E vamos agora
one more
pro
round
top 10,
of the sprint
ver se a gente
championship
consegue
in
tirar aí
Interlagos
outro
and the same
detalhezinho
for the endurance
pra
championship. So
ficar em P1 na
a visit
categoria.
to Argentina and then
Obrigada,
two rounds
Beleza,
more
valeu.
in Interlagos, as we heard there from Nelson Monteiro, that had a very good qualifying session as well. And now it's time to see the main drivers.
Yes, and we had very nice races last year in Termas de Rio Hondo. It was two very interesting rounds there. First for the sprint championship, then for the endurance race. This is Nicolas Costa. Nicolas Costa, who got the first pole position of the year. He leads the championship, and he won the first race of the year here in Interlagos. He started very strong. It's his first full season competing for the Carrera Cup. He used it to compete in the Endurance Championship. He already competed in the Endurance Championship, but this year he is competing in the Sprint Championship as well as in the Endurance Championship. So it's always nice to see a young talent like Nicolas Costa. And this is a veteran. This is Miguel Paludo, who has 7 titles. Now we see Alceu Feldman with Porsche #1 with his traditional green livery. Paludo also has his traditional red livery from his sponsor. So it's very nice to see these drivers. Let's wait. They are about yet to try their best times. They didn't do any flying lap yet. Usually that's the way we see. They started doing so after with a little bit under 5 minutes to go. Let's see if Alceu Feldman does something now, Carlos. But anyway, they're still preparing to do their best in Interlagos.
Yeah, that's it. Even if he does get a good lap time there, it would not be the best lap time attempt from Feldman and the whole pack, actually, because as it was the case in the 2 intermediate classes, the rookie one and the sport one, in the main class, the situation is pretty much the same. They have to hit the tires, even though the track temperature is evolving because of the previous sessions. But anyway, they have to put the tires in the ideal track actually temperature window there in order to get good lap times in the final 2 attempts, I would say. So we can expect the best lap times to come even closer to 2 minutes to go or something like that. So the clock is ticking and the lap times will certainly be better and better.
Let's see, we see again Marcel Miller. Marcel Miller with the number 544, a car we are used to see him competing for the last years. That's his favorite number. And then we see Alceu Feldman. Right now, Linneu Pires is still the fastest car, but I believe, Carlos, now we are going to start the first flying laps of the Carrera Cup drivers. Let's see if they get a place in the top 6 or in the top 10 to go to the next qualifying session, which will define the pole position.
Yeah, that's it. We always have to remember that they don't need to go full throttle necessarily in this qualifying session. They have to get their cars actually in the top 6 in order to advance to fight for the Super Bowl. So there's no need to overdrive or anything like that. And I believe that we'll have good lap times now, then a preparation lap, and then the final attempt in terms of a fast lap attempt in this qualified session. Then we'll have the top 10 amalgamated advancing into the final qualifying session of the Carrera Cup Championship today at Interlagos, as we see now Miguel Paludo's car.
Yeah, and so far it's less than 3.5 minutes. No flying lap yet. Let's see if Miguel Paludo hits one now. Let's see what he does. How does... And apparently not yet. He goes to the S of Senna. He crossed the line. He must be starting a flying lap now, Carlos. And as we see, Rodrigo Melo, first time we see Rodrigo Melo during this transmission, during this broadcast, we see him there. He's a driver who's been evolving through the last years. So it's a driver we always pay attention. He's not a professional driver, but he's a very advanced amateur driver or gentleman driver. Let's put it this way. He's a lawyer, and Marcel Miller gets the best time so far with 1:35.732, which is like 0.4 of a second slower than his best time yesterday on free practice.
And Rodrigo Melo already in the top 10. There we see P7 for Rodrigo. Let's see. I believe it is Werner Neugebauer there.
Yes, it's Werner Neugebauer with his Porsche number 8. And then comes Miguel Paludo. Nicolas Costa gets the 6th best time among the Carrera Cup drivers. Neugebauer is 10th. And Rodrigo Melo is in 8th. So far, at least 4 of the Carrera Cup drivers are among the top 10. Let's see what will be the time from Miguel Paludo as he crosses the line. And Miguel Paludo, he didn't get a good time, Carlos. Yes. He is under pressure right now, I would say, to put his car among the top 10.
Definitely, and that's an interesting situation because, for example, Marcel Miller and Nicolas Costa, they don't need to worry anymore because even if the guys that are currently out of the top 10 improve, they probably won't be knocked out. But Werner Neugebauer's situation, for example, is quite tricky because if also Feldman or Miguel Paludo are able to get a good lap time there and outperform Werner, then he's out of the next qualifying session. So these 3 cars, they have to stay on track.
Wow, Rodrigo Melo got the best time. Best time for Rodrigo Melo, 4/1000th of a second ahead of Marcel Miller. That's incredible, Carlos. That's almost as good as it gets, to get the best time so far. Of course, we are going still to another session, but now Rodrigo Melo is definitely in the final round that will define the pole position.
And now Neugebauer ahead.
And Neugebauer ahead, exactly. So the driver under pressure right now are Alceu Feldman and Miguel Paludo. Let's see what Miguel Paludo can do now. He has 2 chances only to be among the top 10. That will be this, and he'll probably be able to open a final lap there.
Yeah.
And he gets 10th, which is not good, Carlos. 10th is not good.
Especially considering the fact that Alceu is still on track. But anyway,
exactly.
Alceu is in his final attempt. The clock has ticked already. The rest of the drivers, like Bauer, Melo, Miller, and Costa, they can pit, but Paludo has to guarantee himself, even though I believe it will be quite difficult for Feldman to advance. But let's wait and see.
Let's see what does Alceu Feldman. This is his last lap, because he'll get the checkered flag. He was able to open a flying lap right before the time was over. Let's see what he gets there. And he didn't get it. So, also, did he get it? No, he's 15th.
Yeah, he didn't.
He didn't. So, yeah, just to confirm, and now Miguel Paludo, at least Miguel Paludo, he survives in the top 10, but not with a very good performance. And I would say Nicolas Costa, also who leads the championship, Carlos, didn't have that great of a performance. But of course, we have to wait for the Super Bowl now and see what happens. This is just, let's say, a qualifying to the final qualifying session. So that's the most important that they got there. And we see Lucas Salles there, Carlos, the 5th driver from the sports class. going to the final session. So we have in the final session 5 cars from the sports class and 5 cars for the main Carrera Cup class.
Yeah, and Lucas Salles has to say thank you to Alceu Feldman, because I thought that Lucas was going to be knocked out, and he eventually was able to advance into the fight for the Super Bowl. Of course, he's not one of the main contenders, because we can expect the drivers from the main Carrera class to fight for the front row positions and so on. But anyway, Paludo in a very tricky situations, and the gaps, Sergio, they mean a lot. You see a little bit more than 3/10 between Neugbauer and Nicolas Costa, and 7/10 between Neugbauer and Paludo. So even if they are able to have a better performance in the final qualifying session, they carry pressure, and that's a tricky situation to be ahead of the final quali session. So let's wait and see. Of course, we are talking about experienced drivers, especially Miguel Paludo, a 7-time champion of this series. But anyway, the situation isn't good at all for Miguel, and tricky for Nicolas Costa as well. But so far, so good for Werner Neugbauer, especially, I would say. And Rodrigo Melo, we have to praise what Melo has been doing so far. As you said, he has risen through the ranks in the last couple of years. So it's always nice to see that a driver that was actually taught in this series is getting more and more competitive. So let's wait and see what he manages to do in the final quali session, as we see Alceu Feldman parking his car there, already knocked out of this qualifying session.
Yeah, after this qualifying session, we have this qualifying session for the sprint challenge. We see there Marcel Miller already going to the entrance of the pits, or to the exit actually of the pits, to be prepared for the beginning of this session. We see there Werner Neugbauer, who was the fastest so far in the 3 qualifying sessions we've seen here. Remembering that the race this afternoon will be at time here to double check at and I mentioned it wrong. It will be 1 p.m. Brazilian time. I mentioned it to be 3 p.m. Brazilian time. It will be 1 p.m. Brazilian time, but then I said right there, it will be 2 p.m. Eastern, like 12 noon Eastern time, 12 noon Eastern time, and then in GMT will be at 4 p.m. GMT. So just correcting the times. The session will start at 1 p.m. Right, Carlos? It's 1 p.m. that we start the races this Saturday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow that they will start earlier. They start at 11 a.m. Brazilian time, or 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern time, or 2 p.m. GMT. So
exactly, that's it. Brazilian time, of course. Now we have green flag, I believe, or the cars will park quite close to the pit exit there in order to fight for pole position. There we see Peter Verter's car. Always nice to see, actually, Peter with such a good qualifying pace. So let's wait and see if he manages to capitalize on what is so far a good momentum for him. And we'll have green flag in a moment. But that's it, Sergio. 1 p.m. Brazilian time, a little bit after that. And then tomorrow we have 11 a.m. Brazilian time.
Yes, it's usually we start our races early afternoon, but this Sunday they will be a little bit earlier. Remembering that this is the Interlagos, the main racetrack in Brazil. It's not worldwide, of course. We have Formula One every year here, and this year, as no exception from the last few years, we will have also races for the Porsche Cup. So whoever goes to Interlagos to watch the Brazilian GP or the São Paulo GP of Formula One will be able also to see these great races, as we see Renata there. But I don't think I can hear her audio, Carlos.
Yeah, she's talking to Guilherme Ferro, one of the engineers of Porsche Brazil, but we cannot hear the interview there. But anyway, you mentioned the Brazilian Grand Prix. We will have in November the 4th. So, as you said, whoever appears in the Interlagos track to watch Formula One will have the opportunity to watch Porsche races, and it's always nice, actually, because we see covering the Brazilian Grand Prix that sometimes the public, especially the the guys that come from abroad, Argentina or something like that, to watch the Formula One race. They are
Ele já
actually a
veio, já
little
trocou
bit more
pneu, já tá
thrilled
lá e já tá indo pra
by the
pista.
Porsche
A gente
races
tá acompanhando
because
aqui
they
bem
tend to be a little bit
Luke.
more competitive. Of course, we don't have a Red Bull team or a Max Verstappen to spoil the party there. Sorry, so it's always nice to watch.
Yeah, they are very competitive. It's really a great experience, and I believe this, Carlos, is worldwide. It's not only in Brazil, but usually the Porsche Cup championships around the world, and we have in many countries local championship with Porsches. They are very competitive, and it's nice to see these cars. You know, they are very reliable. We see, I would say, Carlos, that Porsches are the most reliable sports cars, as far as I know. I'm not saying anything against the other brands, but Porsches are known for their reliability, which is good for owners and for competition as well.
And the most produced race cars in the world, with all this Porsche Cup regional or national series, and also Porsche Super Cup. We are talking about support series for Formula One Grand Prix. It is the case of Porsche Cup Brazil to the São Paulo Grand Prix, but we have Porsche Super Cup worldwide, and from time to time, actually, we have drivers from Porsche Cup Brazil competing in the Porsche Super Cup rounds. We had recently, for example, Georgios Frangoulis competing in the Porsche Super Cup round of the Red Bull Ring, and a couple of months ago, I believe, Sergio, it was Miguel Paludo who was competing in the Porsche Cup France. So it's always nice to see when our drivers, they compete abroad as well.
Yeah, Paludo competed in the race that was a companion race for the Le Mans 24 hours. So they had a Porsche Cup race there, and that's where he competed. And also, Carlos, I'm checking the information here, but Marcel Miller also competed not in the Super Cup, but he competed recently in Mugello, and in another track, I believe, in Italy as well. But he was invited, and he even said that when he was first invited, he didn't believe it. It took.
Whoa!
What is going on?
Nelson
Oh
Monteiro.
my, Nelson Monteiro. Hey, that
Something
was
with the
out
car.
of the blues, and that's it for him.
Yeah, let's see if he will be able to go back to the pits. Very weird incident actually there, and that's not a driving mistake at all. The car went directly into the wall there, so let's wait and see the replay, but maybe a yellow flag there in order to clean the debris of the track, but look at that.
Oh yeah.
He didn't
No.
turn to the left on purpose, not at all. The good thing is that the car was on low speed, because if it was in a different situation, maybe the crash would be stronger, as we see that the track marshals are cleaning the track there, and maybe with the car located in a runoff area, we will need the rescue team there, because if a car goes wide there, then the situation can get actually quite tricky. Let's wait and see what the race direction will do.
Yes, it really came out of as a surprise, the problem with Nelson Monteiro. Too bad that this happened, I would say. You know, he did a great qualifying lap during the qualifying session for the sports class drivers, and now he will see himself in this situation, as we see there, Alceu Feldman. But unfortunately, I'll have to say we don't have the audio from Renata and Alceu Feldman, so we cannot do anything right now to translate, Carlos, but let's listen in Portuguese.
Estava com uma volta errada, então eu estava vendo uma coisa no meu dash e na verdade eu estava com outro tempo, então eu tinha que ter acelerado mais mesmo o tempo mostrando que eu estava entrando. Então eu tive um problema no computador aí, que nós vamos corrigir, ou eu
Pretty
não vou
much was explaining, Carlos, I believe,
Vai na intuição.
the reason why he wasn't able to qualify for this final round, to place himself in this final round of the top 10 fastest drivers.
Yeah, and we can assume, I would say, two factors, two main reasons why he wasn't able to get good lap times in the previous quali session. First of all, the main factor so far in this qualifying session, that is heating the tires, getting the tires in the right temperature window there in order to perform in a high level that is, of course, necessary in such a competitive category. So that factor, and then the pressure due to the fact that he was struggling with tire temperature. So I would assume that's the reason why he wasn't able to qualify for this Super Pole fight that we have in this moment. And we already have Marcel Miller ahead of the pack, but that time isn't representative, as isn't Neugbauer's or Mascarello's lap times as well.
Yeah, they should run at the 135s. It's 142, 165. So it's around 7 seconds, behind what should be the pole position best time. But of course, the driver there, you see a beautiful view, Carlos, of one of the lakes around Interlagos. I don't know if you know the name. I don't know. I have to tell you. But as you mentioned many times, Interlagos means Interlakes, and that's one of the lakes there around the circuit of Interlagos, São Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah, the lakes are called Guarapiranga and Billings. I confess that I don't know which one it was, but these are the lakes, as we now have the audio back for us in the broadcast. Of course, you back at home can hear everything from the very beginning of this broadcast, but now we have all set for the definition of pole position, Sergio.
Yes, we still see Marcel Miller. Now we see Lucas Salles with the number 70. Lucas Salles is 6, but all of them didn't get their best times yet. So we'll have to wait. These are the crucial moments of these qualifying sessions when we are getting under 4 minutes. Oh, one more car going off track. That was Rodrigo Melo? No, that's not Rodrigo Melo. It's not his livery. That was Peter Ferter.
Yeah, car number 54.
That was Peter Ferter going off track.
Now that is something, 56, not 54, sorry. That is something that we can relate to a driving mistake there. It appears that he missed a braking point and then he went wide and lost control of the car, but he was able to avoid the crash. So let's see if his tires aren't wasted and if he's able to get another lap time attempt there, as we see Lucas Salles on the screen in this moment.
There is Lucas Salles. Lineu Pires is the fastest so far, but around 2 seconds, a little bit less than 2 seconds, I would say, behind what we expect to be the best time, 3 minutes and a half now. Marcel Miller, very strong. He's coming from these 2 races in Europe. He's very excited about it. He said the cars, the Porsches, were slightly different configuration, but he was able to adapt himself very well. And of course, it's an important moment as he looks to get close to Nicolas Costa, who leads the championship. Nicolas Costa leads the championship. Marcel Miller is in second. And, Werner Neugbauer is in second, 5 points behind Nicolas Costa. But Marcel Miller and Miguel Paludo are not that far behind. They are each 12 points behind Nicolas Costa, who leads the championship. But Marcel Miller, due to his best results, has the 3rd place with Miguel Paludo in 4th.
Yeah, the championship situation is quite interesting as well, because as you said, the gaps aren't that big, just 5 points between Costa and Neugbauer. Miller also quite close, tied with Miguel Paludo. Then we have Lucas Salles, that is from the sport class, but he grabs points for the main Carrera Cup championship as well. But we have to highlight this top 4. And of course, slight advantage there for Nicolas Costa, but we still have half of the season to come.
And now we see a time that should be around it, Carlos. Maybe they can improve, but Neugbauer 135.214. Then Marcel Miller in second and Nicolas Costa in 3rd. Great work by them. Miguel Paludo, it doesn't seem he has a good car for this race. He's still in 7th. He's in 8th right now. He's definitely struggling, Carlos, as we see Peter Ferter getting the 3rd best time with 1:35.503. It's a great time for Peter Ferter in the sports class.
Yeah, and we see that Neugbauer and Miller, they are a little bit more consistent than the rest of the pack, and that also considers what we saw in the previous qualifying session. Let's wait and see Rodrigo Melo. He was very fast last time out, but the guys from the sport class, they are getting a very good result so far. Let's hear from Renata Diniz interviewing Nelson Monteiro.
Aquecimento do pneu e retirar a cera dele. Só que a hora que eu aproximei ali do lago, eu dei uma freada e o carro virou de uma vez. Eu não tive o que fazer, virou de uma vez e o pneu ainda estava com um pouco de cera e tal, e aí o carro acabou deslizando e infelizmente aconteceu isso. A gente estava tão bem, agora vamos ter que começar tudo de novo.
Obrigada, Nelson. O Luke aí tá fervendo.
Whoa! Melo, Rodrigo Melo.
Rodrigo Melo.
Let's see the replay. We didn't see the image of the crash. In a weird position. It seems that he crashed quite strongly there.
Yeah. It doesn't look good for Rodrigo Melo.
Red flag.
Red flag with 27 seconds to go. I would say it wouldn't do much, Carlos, but let's see what the people responsible, the officials, will decide about this. But it's right at the end. I would guess, Carlos, they will end up the session. That's my guess, of course. And that would put Neugbauer in the pole position, starting alongside Nicolas Costa with Marcel Miller in 3rd, and number 888 of Lineu Pires in 4th in the 2nd row. But let's wait and see.
Yeah, but I would bet on that as well. Of course, we have to wait and see what the race direction will do, but with 27 seconds to go, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have the session resumed. Maybe they can add a minute or something like that for the drivers to open one more lap time, one more lap attempt there in order to get a good time in this qualifying session, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's hear if Renata Diniz brings informations to us.
Mas tá tudo bem, tá andando, tá tudo certo. Vou falar com ele já.
She was talking about what Melo signal. There we see the replay, but it doesn't show the beginning of the incident.
Yeah, it's a very rare event, I would say, Carlos.
The main straight.
Yeah. There we see, but a little bit more.
We don't see the beginning of the incident. We just see the end, so it's a little bit too.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Usually if you see an accident in the main straight, is due to the starting restart or start of the race or a dispute going on. But when the car is alone there, usually there is no problem at all because it's not a hard place. And we'll see Werner Neugbauer.
Yeah, pole position for him. That's it.
That's Nicolas Costa, 2nd best time.
And we have to praise the sport class drivers, Sergio Lineu Pires, Rajan Mascarello there, Peter Ferter as well, and Lucas Salles P4 to P7 for them. So a very good qualifying session for the guys that are theoretically, let's put it that way, from the intermediate class. And Rodrigo Melo and Miguel Paludo struggled. Of course, maybe the red flag was a shame for them, but actually Rodrigo Melo's crash didn't allow me to translate what Nelson Monteiro was talking about his crash. He said that he was on 4th gear there right after the pit exit and just stepped on the brake, and then the car suddenly, all of a sudden, went to the left and crashed into the tire. For years there, actually, the wall. Let's hear from Rodrigo Melo. Puncture in the main street.
Estourou o pneu na reta, uma pena. A gente vinha lá pro top 5, eu acho. E aí rodou, né? Aí no traseiro direito, bola de apoio, não deu para controlar o carro. Uma pena na reta final.
Coisa que acontece, mas pelo menos tá ali bem posicionado para corrida ainda assim, né?
Vamos ver se o carro fica pronto para correr, né?
Ah, tem isso. Mas a gente confia na equipe, né?
Ah, com certeza, com certeza.
Valeu, Rô. Bom te ver bem e tá tudo certo, acontece.
Obrigado.
Luke?
Yeah, bittersweet sensation there for Rodrigo Melo. Of course, he's okay, but he actually was in a very fast lap attempt there. He said that he was being something like half a second faster than he was previously, so he had conditions to get top 5 there or something like that, but he had that puncture rear right tire, so of course he wasn't able to control the car, and then he crashed into the tire barrier in the inside line there of the main straight, actually the wall, not the tire barrier. But of course now he has to see if the car will be able to compete in today's race, but of course this Porsche mechanics, they are very capable, and we can expect him to be racing. And the good thing, if we can say something like that, is that he's okay. So.
Yes, he got the 8th best time, so he should start in the 4th row.
Ainda não é o
Neugbauer.
pole, mas eu vou entregar o
Renata.
mini pole, o Vequinha, entregar o troféu móvel. Pole position, Werner Neugbauer garantiu a pole. Isso é muito importante para o começo de final de semana.
A gente tá entrando na fase decisiva do campeonato, né? Então tem que... E a gente sabe que largada aqui é muito importante, principalmente nessas condições de pista. Essa obra tá atrapalhando bastante, a pista tá bem suja e eu acho que a ultrapassagem vai ser mais complicada do que o normal. Então a pole é sensacional, começar com o pé direito e super importante também.
Parabéns. Vequinha, tá feliz que o papai fez a pole?
Sim!
Você vai lá no grid desejar boa sorte pra ele?
Claro!
Fofura. Luke.
Yeah, nice scenes there. We saw Werner Neugbauer's kid presenting him the pole position trophy, and Neugbauer was highlighting, how important it is to start ahead of the pack in this track, especially considering the fact that we have some constructions in the Interlagos complex, so the track is a little bit dirty, so overtaking and so on is a little bit more difficult than normal, and Neugbauer celebrated his pole position with his kid, which is very nice, and let's wait and see if he manages to capitalize on his grid position. He also mentioned that now the season is getting into that decisive moment in which grabbing a lot of points is important, especially compared to his title rivals there. We once more remember that Nicolas Costa is the leader with 5 points ahead of Werner Neugbauer, so he can have a good race today in order to start Sunday already as leader and then have a good management
Luke,
of his
sabe o que
points
eu explico
gap
pra
there.
eles?
Let's
Eu
hear
falo,
from
olha,
Renata Diniz once more.
Tem uma coisa chata de vocês irem muito bem aqui na Porsche Cup. É que vocês têm que me aguentar, porque eu venho falar toda hora, quero conversar toda hora, pegar depoimento toda hora. Então estou de novo com o Lineu Pires aqui. Vai largar em 4º no grid, na geral, e em primeiro na Sport. Fez a pole na Sport. Queria que você comentasse como que é largar numa posição muito privilegiada na categoria geral, Lineu.
Não, largar lá na frente evita muito problema. A gente vê algumas corridas acabam enroscando atrás. Na frente, a gente tendo referência como o Werner, o Marçal que tá ali. É muito bom pra gente seguir o caminho e tentar chegar num pódio na geral, quem sabe uma vitória.
O que a gente fica pensando é, cara, tem umas feras que vêm atrás de você. Então você tá ali no meio do sanduíche, né? Tem fera na frente, tem fera atrás. A intenção é... Pergunta minha, tá? Bem pessoal mesmo. Você pensa muito mais... Agora a gente tá numa etapa muito decisiva de campeonato já. Mas dá mais gostinho de fechar numa posição melhor na geral? Ou você pensa só na sua categoria pelo campeonato, Lineu? Como que fica a divisão aí dessa cabeça?
Se você pensar na geral, consequentemente você pensa na categoria. Então, tentar sempre buscar o máximo na geral, que com certeza na categoria vai com certeza ir bem também.
Mas na pista tem aquela coisa, né? Vou ser mais agressivo ou vou só defender, ficar de boa? Vou pra frente ali? Não. Melhor, eu já tô garantindo aqui a minha, na Sport. É melhor não arriscar tanto.
Não tem nada garantido. Atrás de mim tá todo mundo da Sport, não tem como ser tão conservador. Se eu tivesse com certeza muita gente no meio, ok, mas agora tem bastante gente na Sport, o Rajan tá atrás, o Nelson tá um pouco mais atrás, tem o Lucas tá aqui, que é o líder, então não dá pra vacilar não.
É isso, vale destacar, né, Luque Monteiro e Thiago Mendonça, a presença desses pilotos da Sport também numa posição muito bacana na geral. Obrigada, Lineu, até já. Luque?
Yeah, we heard there from Lineu Pires, that is actually the pole sitter in the sport class division ahead of his class rivals there. Very nice result, actually, for Lineu Pires, immediately ahead of Rajan Mascarello. Lineu Pires 4th in the grid generally, Rajan Mascarello 5th. And then he has also Lucas Salles, that is the class leader, close there. So actually he was asked about how he will set his mentality, if we can say so, for the race, because of course he's ahead of his class, but of course also fighting against the guys from the main Carrera class. So Renata asked him if he focuses on his class solely or if he thinks about fighting with the guys from the main Carrera class. He said that if you have a good result generally with the overall cars, the whole grid, then you have a good result as a consequence in your class as well. And of course he celebrated pole position. Now we have green flag for the sprint challenge qualifying session, the first one of this very competitive championship as well. So if we had an eventful quali session for Carrera Cup, we can expect good things as well for sprint challenge, Sergio.
Yes, this is the rookie class. We have we'll have 6 cars on the track for 10 minutes. Then we'll have the cars for 9 sport class cars for the sprint challenge for more 10 minutes. Then 10 minutes with the main 7 sprint challenge drivers. And then as we had with the Carrera Cup, we'll have the final qualifying session that will define the pole position for the races that starts, I remember, at 1 p.m. Brazilian time this Saturday. There will be race 1 for both Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge. It will be 12 p.m. Eastern Time, US Eastern Time, or 4 p.m. GMT for those who are watching us from Europe. And of course, these are the main times. So we see the cars. There will be 10 minutes. Usually they take the first 5 minutes to hit the tires, to warm up the tires, to get in the better conditions. And we see there number 45 of Paulo Totaro. So Paulo Totaro already on the track. The 6 drivers actually are on the track. Wait to see them.
Paulo Totaro, actually, that has recently returned to the series. He had a very strong crash in preseason testing last year, if I'm not wrong. So he was able to recuperate and now back to the grid. Very nice to see him. A very nice guy back on the grid. And as you said, 6 cars in this rookie class of the Sprint Challenge Championship, apart from Totaro, Marco Tulio, Américo Lanzoni, Luis Souza, Célio Brasil, and Eric Santos. Just talking a bit about the championship standings in this particular class of the Sprint Challenge Championship, we have Luis Souza as leader in this moment. Actually, Luis has 71 points, so interesting situation for him, right ahead of Célio Brasil, so 5 points gap between them. Then we have Eric Santos with 55 and the rest of the pack.
Yeah, Luis Souza is in the Porsche number 7. Well, let's see what he does now to keep his position. We have a beautiful day in Interlagos. This is the 4th round of the Porsche Cup C6 Bank Mastercard Season 2023.
Projeto que tá rolando nessa etapa, que aqui na Porsche Cup. Conta pra gente como é esse projeto, que daqui a pouco eu vou falar com as meninas que estão trabalhando, colocando a mão na massa aqui.
Claro. Bom, esse ano eu fui eleita presidente da Comissão Feminina de Automobilismo. A gente tem vários projetos de inclusão de mulheres para pilotos, que a gente fez no kart, de estudantes com experiência em automobilismo. E a gente tem esse projeto de mecânicas e engenheiras, que a gente leva para algumas categorias do Brasil. A Porsche é uma delas, Stock Car e também a Copa Truck. 10 meninas em cada etapa têm a possibilidade de fazer um estágio nessas categorias. É a primeira vez que a gente está fazendo na Porsche, está sendo sensacional, porque é uma categoria que prepara muita gente. Então, a Porsche tem aí um procedimento muito legal de ensinar elas. Tiveram na quinta-feira de manhã toda, né, como funciona a Porsche, o que elas vão fazer. Então, elas já estão mais habituadas. Temos aí 10 meninas espalhadas, 2 aqui no box, 3 no nosso box aqui com a Antonella, para incentivar, ver se elas gostam dessa experiência e quem sabe também a Porsche também se interesse em trazê-las aqui full time para trabalhar na categoria. E aí a gente vai multiplicando mulheres e mulheres dentro do automobilismo que é o que eu, a Raquel, né, Ló e a Bruna Frazão queremos com esses projetos.
Com certeza. E agora, dessa vez a Bia está aqui presente. Você acompanhou a vitória da Antonella Bassani de longe, lá em Goiânia, e agora você está aqui presente, pertinho dela. Afinal, você é a coach dela, né?
Eu cuido da carreira da Antonella desde 2018, só que eu também corro. Então, quando ela venceu em Goiânia, eu estava correndo na Copa Truck, soube por telefone que ela tinha vencido. Ela está se aquecendo aqui agora. Hoje até as meninas estão do CBA e hoje eu estou de Antonella Bassani aqui, preparada para trabalhar com ela. Mas são, assim, multifunções, né? E estou aqui para dar a força, né, para ela e quem sabe ela faça também um ótimo resultado esse final de semana.
É isso, e poder vibrar de perto, né, Bia?
Não, já começa a ver algumas coisas erradas. Antonella, cuida disso, cuida daquilo. E de uma forma tentar que ela seja melhor do que eu, né? Eu consegui grandes coisas na minha carreira, chegar em níveis altíssimos e eu fui muito ajudada na minha carreira. Então eu quero preparar uma nova menina, vou passar toda a minha experiência para ela que ela seja melhor que eu.
É isso, generosidade, né, Bia Figueiredo? Muito obrigada. A gente vai acompanhando tudo aqui. A Antonella já tá ali se preparando. A cara de concentrada, mostra lá, Sandrinho. A cara de concentrada dela. Muito. Sensacional. Obrigada, Bia. Luque.
Yeah, nice interview there. We just saw Antonella Bassani, driver of the main sprint challenge class in this championship. One of the highlights of the season so far, winning races, the first woman to win a race in Porsche Cup Brazil. But the interview was with Bia Figueiredo, that was actually recently elected as the president of the Women's Racing Commission in Brazil. And actually, she is spearheading a very nice job that is allowing actually engineers, women of course, engineers, press officers and so on to have internships, if you can say so, in different series, and that is the first time that this job is being done in Porsche Brazil. So very nice to see this job being done by Bia Figueiredo, that is a very important driver in our country and even abroad. She is actually also known as Ana Beatriz in the US, has raced in the Indy cars as well, so a very famous driver and accomplished one. And of course, that's why she's the perfect person to do this job, and she's also the manager of Antonella Bassani, and actually she wasn't able to be close to Antonella when she won her first race in Porsche Brazil. So now she has the opportunity to see Antonella getting a good result once more. Bia Figueiredo, that is currently racing in the Copa Truck Championship, the Truck Cup of Brazil. So let's wait and see what Antonella will be able to do, as now the rookie class drivers of the Sprint Challenge Championship, they have a little bit more representative lap times. Sergio.
Yeah, with a little bit over 2 minutes to go, Marco Tullio now actually got the best time so far. He raced at 1:40.555. Then we have Célio Brasil, who was before at top of the charts there. And then we have Luis Souza. Souza is third right now. So let's see what will be this situation. Luis Souza that, as you mentioned, Carlos, leads the championship with 71 points, 5 points ahead of Célio Brasil, who is ahead of him so far. And then we have Paulo Totaro in fourth, then Eric Santos in fifth, and Americo Lanzoni is almost 4 seconds behind the first place, Marco Tullio. This is among, of course, the rookie class for the Sprint Challenge. For the main category is Sprint Challenge, Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil, Porsche Sprint Challenge Brazil, and this is the rookie class. We also have the sport class and the main class, which is where Antonella Bassani competes, that we saw the interview with Bia Figueiredo, that, as you mentioned, and as Renata as well mentioned, Carlos, I would say so far is the most accomplished female driver in Brazilian history, as far as I know, Carlos.
Yeah, I would say so as well. Very good results internationally. Actually, I mentioned in IndyCar racing, she has always actually, she was racing as well at IMSA, if I'm not wrong, recently. So a sports car driver as well. And in the Brazilian classes, she has categories. Actually, she has good results as well in Stock Car Pro Series, other racing series, Copa Truck as well, winning races, so a very accomplished driver. And it's nice to see that she's spearheading this very nice job that is being done by the Women's Racing Commission in Brazil. As we see there that Célio Brasil is trying to get a better lap time in his final attempt. That will be it for him. So far, a little bit more than 1 tenth behind Marco Tulio.
There we see Marco. No, that's not Marco Tulio. That's Porsche number 10 of Americo Lanzoni. He is the last. Let's see if he's able to improve. And now we have Paulo Totaro also trying to improve his lap. He is 4th. Let's see what he'll be able to do. Marco Tulio still leads with Célio Brasil and Luis Souza. Final moments of this qualifying session for the rookie class, for the sprint challenge, for the category sprint challenge. You see the detail of Paulo Totaro. And they are all trying as these very last moments, Carlos, to improve their times. Let's see there what Paulo Totaro can do. He's going to the main straight.
Brasil tá abrindo uma bem rápida, hein? Tá vindo com tudo.
And Renata mentions that Célio Brasil, it's coming really fast. Let's see. Oh, Célio Brasil, there she is. That's what Renata said. Célio Brasil is able to, so far, get the pole position for the rookie class in the sprint challenge category.
And I believe that it will be it. Very good lap time there from Célio Brasil. Interesting effort. And just to compare, in yesterday's free practice session, the fastest time was set also by Célio Brasil, but 1:40.199. So he's actually faster than he was yesterday in free practice. So very, very good job done there by Célio Brasil. As we see Americo Lanzoni's car there, and Luis Souza will have to perform very well in order to perform Célio Brasil. We are talking about the front runners in terms of championship standings. Souza with 71 points, as I said, 5 points ahead of Célio Brasil, and between them they have Marco Tulio. We have to praise Tulio's qualifying pace as well. Very good result for him.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And Eric Santos, who is third in the championship, got the 4th best time. As we see the cars for the sport class already getting ready to go to the track. This is Marco Tulio. This is from the rookie class. He is already on the pits. He's talking to his engineer, and they're talking about the situation there. So Israel Salman as well. We see him, Israel Salman, who competes in the rookie class. Although we didn't see him here at time. No, Ismail Salman actually is in the sport class, right, Carlos?
Yeah, he was.
He was rookie class, but now he's sports class.
He had a lot of good results in the rookie class, so he now goes to the sport class. Actually, last time out, I believe he was already in the sport class, which is good to see because we always praise this category because it allows the drivers to develop themselves, of course, improve their skills and so on. And we highlighted Rodrigo Melo in the Carrera Cup Championship as one of the guys that represents this. Now we already have Israel Salman and other drivers that are arriving to the series. And in that sense as well, it's interesting to note that we have, for example, a driver from the Porsche Sprint Trophy Championship that is a school category, if we can say so, with the older spec of the Porsche cars that we had being used a couple of years ago. Eduardo Taurizano, that was the fastest guy in the Sprint Trophy Championship, now already in the Porsche Sprint Challenge main class. So it's nice to see that this category, these organizers, they allow driver development, and they are always actually finding new drivers. And from time to time, these drivers, they race abroad, as we mentioned about Marçal Miller, Miguel Paludo, also Jorge Sangulis, and that's why we have to praise the organization and so on, as we see there Célio Brasil celebrating his pole position.
Yeah, let's see what he will be able to do this afternoon. Race start at 1 p.m. Brazilian time, 12 p.m. US Eastern time, and 4 p.m. GMT. You'll be able to follow us at the Porsche Cup Brazil YouTube channel. You'll be able to follow us with this first race, and then the second race will be tomorrow on Sunday. Renata. Oh, let's see now. We didn't see her audio. So let's wait for the audio for Renata. As the cars for we don't see the image, but for sure the cars for the sports class are already prepared to start their session.
Mais uma dele,
Renata.
tá feliz demais. Célio Brasil, chorando.
Sou chorão mesmo, tem jeito não, tô igual o Rubinho. Depois que o Rubinho falou que ele assumiu que é chorão, eu também posso, né? Pô, cara, tô em êxtase ainda. Apesar de ter tido outras glórias, vitórias, mas na constância, sem me arriscar, buscando ter o controle do carro. É a minha primeira pole, com essa sensação de controle para mim é mais importante. E mais ainda porque minha família tá toda aqui, meus amigos, foi a etapa que eu escolhi para estar todo mundo aqui. Alguns já vieram hoje, outros amanhã, então obrigado por estar aqui, para vocês. Estou muito feliz, muito mesmo. Foi desafiante. E chegar com um tempo de 1:39, referindo ao meu número, foi uma meta muito importante.
Caraca, olha a coincidência sensacional, Célio. É isso. E agora a gente tá vendo a movimentação de troca de pneus aqui.
É isso aí, como é que é? Desculpa.
Troca de pneus, tá rolando aqui essa movimentação.
A gente vai trocar, não vou entregar a estratégia, mas a gente já vai sair com um pneu diferente para caso tenha um top 10, né, esse tempo se enquadre ali no top 10 do grid geral, a gente já esteja preparado. É isso aí.
Olhando, de repente cabe, hein?
Vamos ver. Não vamos aumentar a expectativa não, um passo de cada vez, comemorar o que acabou de acontecer e preparar para o próximo se vier.
Nossa, que piloto concentrado e consciente você, Célio Brasil. Parabéns. Um ótimo início de final de semana, a família vai vibrar muito.
Muito obrigado. Vamos para cima, ainda tem muito para fazer ainda. Vamos embora.
Valeu, obrigada. Luque?
Yeah, a very emotional Célio Brasil there, celebrating his pole position so far, and a quite ambitious one, because his mechanics are already changing tires, because of course you need a new and fresh set if he manages to qualify for the Super Pole session after the two sessions that we'll have ahead with the sport class drivers and also the main sprint challenge drivers. But anyway, Célio Brasil, very emotional, actually mentioning Rubens Barrichello, that is known as a guy that cries after good results and so on. So Célio said that if Rubens does so, he can do as well. And of course, mentioning that he's accompanied by his family, friends, and so on. This is the round that he chose for a lot of his pals to come and show up at Interlagos. So very nice to see his result, and of course, very important for him in terms of championship standings as well.
Qualifying session for the sports class sprint challenge sports class is already underway. We see number 15 Porsche of Artur Ramos with under 8 minutes to go. He was one of the first to hit the track. So far we have to wait, we have to wait under 5 minutes to see the best times, but he is preparing himself. So we see now Walter Lester with number 19, also in the sports class. There he is, Lester. Interesting livery there, Carlos, with this blue and yellow scheme. It's nice, it's very interesting, I would say.
I agree, completely agree. And just to mention the championship situation in the sport class division of the Sprint Challenge Championship, we have Antonio Junqueira a bit ahead of the pack, 82 points for Junqueira. Sadaki Leite is the second with 53 points, just 2 points ahead of Artur Ramos. So a very good championship situation for Antonio Junqueira. That actually has been one of the highlights of the whole Sprint Challenge season, I would say, from time to time, fighting against the guys from the main class as well.
Yeah, the only thing is that Antonio Junqueira, as far as I know, you can correct me, is not participating in this round. So that will be a problem for him in this championship situation.
Yeah, that's it. He's missing the round. That's right. So it will be good for Sadaki Leite, especially. We have also Arthur Ramos. No, Ramos is actually racing. So that's a good opportunity for both Ramos and Sadaki Leite. But we have to remember that Junqueira is a bit ahead.
Yes.
Let me double check the points gap here.
No, he's
30 points, almost 30 points.
29 points. 29,
So-
yes, almost 30.
But 2 races this weekend, they have the chance. But this sport class division of the Sprint Challenge category, it's always very tight and always very competitive. So it will be difficult for one of them, for example, to have 2 race wins or something like that. But anyway, 2 good results will be enough in order to at least get closer to Junqueira.
Yes, and we have to remember also that Antonio Junqueira will be able to discard these 2 results. So if he comes back for the final 2 rounds of the season and he gets regular results like he's been getting or good results, he'll be able, there's a big chance that he'll be able to keep the lead in the championship standings.
And just to mention, actually, Sadaki Leite is the most recent race winner of Porsche Sprint Challenge in Interlagos. So that's a good scenario for him, especially also given the fact that he's second in the championship standings. But your point is very important. The worst results will be discarded. Now, of course, since he's missing the round, Junqueira, he can discard this weekend.
So far, Sadaki Leite is the fastest among the sports class drivers. He's currently in 3rd overall behind Célio Brasil and Marco Túlio. Then now we have Arthur Ramos in the 4th position from the sports class with 4 minutes. And now we have a guy from the sports class on top of the charts, which is Gustavo Zanon. Gustavo Zanon? It's Gustavo Zanon? Yes, Gustavo Zanon, number 33. That's exactly him.
Yeah.
Because we have LGZ there, Carlos, but I'm assuming his full name is Luiz Gustavo Zanon. Just because we have lots of in Brazil, Luiz or Louis is starting as a first name with a second main name, and he probably chose to be called Gustavo, even though he's Luiz Gustavo Zanon. Anyway, Célio Brasil is second. Then we have in 3rd. We have Sadaki Leite now in 2nd. Sadaki Leite got and just 27 100ths of a second behind Gustavo Zanon, also very competitive there. The dispute for the top position among the sports class. Let's see, now we have 3 minutes to go. That's when things get really heated up to define who is going to be the fastest among these drivers that are on the track.
Yeah, and Célio Brasil has already dropped to 3rd, so maybe he was a bit too ambitious, actually. Thinking about fighting for the Super Bowl qualifying session. But yeah, now we have Arthur Ramos. And 7 cars in the main class, so it will be very difficult for Célio Brasil. So.
Yes, I think he was very optimistic. But anyway, once in a while, Carlos, we see a guy from the rookie class among the top 10 for the final round of qualifying. But it's very, very rare. I mean, I remember maybe seeing it a couple of times that it happened. And mainly in the Sprint Challenge Championship, not in the Carrera Cup Championship. But I agree, he was a little bit optimistic there. Over optimistic.
But rightfully so, his lap time was very good considering that he is from the rookie class. As we see that he is still ahead of some of the sport class drivers.
Arthur Ramos is ahead of Sadaka Leite. Then we have Gustavo Zanon, then Célio Brasil. And now we should be other drivers from the sports class getting ahead. Let's see what they can do. We have number 100, Seba Mauccelli, there at the 6th position. Then 71 of San Joaquin. San Joaquin, that I believe was not in the last round in Goiânia, Carlos. I recall that. I might be wrong as well, but I remember that there was something with San Joaquin in Goiânia. Let me even double check here.
Yeah, but he's one guy that I always like to mention because in a way he also represents how international this series is. We have San Joaquin from South Korea and Iman Darvic from Egypt. Of course, they both live in Brazil, but in a way we have foreigners in this series as well, Sergio.
Yeah, and I just confirmed he was not in Goiânia. He has a trace there for his points there, which means he really didn't compete there. Gustavo Zanon, right now, we are ending this qualifying session for the sports class sprint challenge sports class, and Gustavo Zanon so far is the fastest, with second being Artur Ramos and then Sadaka Leite in third. It's important for Sadaka Leite to get a good position. He fights for the championship. Time is over, but drivers who already started their flying laps, they can finish them, so nothing is yet set in stone so far for this qualifying session.
And Gustavo Zanon is actually the reigning champion in the rookie class of this sprint challenge category. Of course, now racing in the sport class. So let's see how he finishes his first season in the intermediate class. And just to talk about these cars, Sergio, we have in the sprint challenge championship the 991-2 cars that were previously used in the previous moment actually of this Porsche Cup Brazil. They were previously used by the Carrera Cup Championship, and now the Carrera Cup drivers, they have the new Porsche 911 GT3 Cup that has actually 460 horsepower. The Porsche 991-2 from the Sprint Challenge Championship has something around 450 horsepower. The difference isn't that big, but of course technology, transmission and so on, that has a very strong impact on the results, as we can see comparing the lap times of both of the categories.
Some changes in this final lap for these drivers. No changes in the first 3 places so far, but we are seeing San Joaquin getting the 4th best time with Seba Malucelli in 5th, and then we have Célio Brasil in the 6th position. It was not bad, the position for Célio Brasil, if you think about it, Carlos. Of course, he's not going to the final round, that's for sure, because we have 7 cars from the Sprint Challenge main category, but he didn't get it was not that bad his time. You see at least 4 drivers there for the sports class behind him, so it was actually a very good result, I would say, for Célio Brasil, as well as for Marco Túlio, who got so far has the 8th best time among the drivers that already hit the track.
Yeah, definitely. And thinking about Célio Brasil's situation, I believe that the most important thing is that he has 4 cars between him and Luis Souza. So thinking about the championship standings, he has a good chance to actually finish Saturday as the class leader. So a good result for him, a very good performance from Marco Túlio, especially because he's struggling a bit in the championship so far. So that is very representative. And Gustavo Zanon, of course, we have to praise him. And I believe we will be listening to Gustavo Zanon shortly with our pit reporter, Renata Diniz. But as we had in the Carrera Cup qualifying session, the Sprint Challenge session is always interesting. And it is nice once more, and I believe we can expect even better things for the main class drivers with Antonella Bassani, Marcelo Tomazzoni, the championship leader, and so on, as we see images from Gustavo Zanon's car, also with a very particular livery there.
Yeah, it was made by an artist, Carlos, before this race. So that's a novelty for car number 33 with this visual, and at least it gave him good vibes as he got the best time for the sports class, and he'll be for sure. At least 3 drivers will be at the final session: Gustavo Zanon, Arthur Ramos, and Sadak Leite, as we hear from Renata.
Então, quem acompanhou também os stories de ontem viu que eu mostrei o novo layout dele, que ficou simplesmente sensacional. E a gente falou, tem que manter esse layout por muito tempo, né, Zanon? Porque tá bonito demais. E aí começamos o sábado muito bem nesse quali.
Muito legal, acho que o layout deu sorte, depois tem que mostrar lá atrás que vale a pena, mas eu acho que para essa tomada, quem merece o mérito é o Rafa. Ele ontem, no fim do treino, faltando 5 minutos, ele falou, cara, para o carro que eu quero mexer um negócio. Se ficar ruim não tem problema nenhum, mas sai desse jeito. Aí ele mexeu, a gente saiu, eu falei, cara, não mexe mais o meu carro, é desse jeito que eu quero fazer a tomada amanhã. E deu muito certo, cara. Essa combinação, layout novo, o Rafa, a mensagem, pô, conseguimos aí P1, tô muito feliz, muito satisfeito mesmo.
Zanon, você me contou nos stories, mas quem tá acompanhando a transmissão e ainda não sabe, qual a história desse layout aqui? Por quê?
A gente está comemorando 55 anos da empresa e a Jaque, né, que é a artista, fez uma arte dentro da nossa empresa e essa arte tem muito a ver com o que a gente acredita, né, que o local de trabalho pode ser um local leve, um local alegre, um local gostoso onde as pessoas queiram ir. E ela fez essa arte lá, eu falei, Jaque, eu quero levar para o meu carro, porque eu acho que a Porsche é isso também, essa leveza, essa curtição, onde você realmente pode se divertir. E esse foi o trabalho que ela fez e ficou incrível o carro. Olha que demais. E significa muito para mim, né? É legal a gente poder correr com o carro, tem um significado muito grande, carregando aí minha empresa para dentro aí do automobilismo.
E foi feito aqui no autódromo, né? Ela demorou acho que 2 dias e foi grafite.
Foi feito no autódromo, o trabalho começou na quarta-feira. Ela começou e terminou na quinta-feira, então o carro ele estava inteiro branco e agora você pode ver que virou um quadro mesmo, realmente. Quero continuar correndo assim por algumas etapas.
Ficou bonito demais. E realmente, essa sua proposta tem tudo a ver com a Porsche Cup, porque é leveza, é diversão, também no ambiente de trabalho. Meninos, vou pedir uma licença para vocês, porque eu quero mostrar só uma coisa. Luke e Thiago, eu fui convidada para assinar no carro. Adivinha só o que eu escrevi aqui. Mostra aí que ele me convidou, né?
Ó, quem quiser depois vir aqui deixar uma mensagem pra mim, a gente tem uma caneta. E a Renatinha deixou a dela, falou, só vai. E é isso que eu fiz, eu fui.
Só foi, tá vendo? Deu sorte, deu sorte. Essa frase que eu falo muito lá nas minhas redes também. Só vai, Zanon só foi e só tá começando o final de semana, é isso. Parabéns. E agora aguardar aí pra ver se vai rolar um top 10.
Claro, vamos aguardar aí ansiosamente. Mas estamos com um tempo bom, acho que vai dar certo.
Já foi feita a troca de pneus aqui, ou seja, fica na expectativa e agora esperar.
Com pneu zero aí, vamos sair com pneu zero aí pro top 10, quem sabe aí conseguir escalar aí nesse pelotão.
Fechado, Zanon. Obrigada, Luke, com você.
Yeah, nice interview there with Gustavo Zanon. He was actually asked about this livery that we mentioned, Sergio. It's actually because of his company. It is completing, I believe, 55 years. So that's just to mark this special moment for them. And of course, he translates this art that one of the designers of the company made to celebrate the 55 years of the Seguralta company to the car. So actually, she arrived to Interlagos, if I'm not wrong, Wednesday, and started painting this graffiti livery of Gustavo Zanon. Of course, it brought good luck for him. P1 so far in his class, and probably he will be fighting for the Super Bowl quali session as well. And apart from that, he highlighted the job done by his driver coach there, that is Rafa Martins. Rafa Martins, very accomplished driver as well, even though very young, but he has recently actually he took the car of Nelson Piquet Jr. Yeah, that's it. That was missing the Stock Car Pro Series round of Interlagos last time out. Nelson was racing in the European Le Mans Series, and Rafa Martins made his debut in the Stock Car Pro Series. So a very competitive driver as well, now coaching Gustavo Zanon. And now the expectation for him to fight for a Super Pole. The tires are changed already, as we now have green flag for the main Sprint Challenge qualifying session.
Yeah, we are actually already around the half of the session with less than 5 minutes and a half to go. And we see there Urubatan Jr., none of the drivers of the main sprint challenge cars got their best times yet, but we have to see. Also great expectation for Antonella Bassani. She's third in the championship. The leader of the championship in the sprint challenge is Marcelo Tomassoni, who has Carlos 12 points ahead of Christian Moore, who runs in second. Let's see. That's a nice battle going on between these two drivers, and coming a little bit behind Antonella Bassani.
Yeah, but not that far, even though there's still ground for Antonella to gain in order to bother a little bit more Tomassoni, especially. As you said, Tomassoni leads with 139 points, 12 points ahead of Christian Moore, and then Antonella Bassani appears with 111 points. Let's hear from Renata Diniz once more.
Tá de pneu usado. Ou seja, arriscando, né? Exato. Essa é a intenção. A gente sabe que durante toda a temporada, né, de uma etapa para outra, a administração de pneus é muito importante, faz toda a diferença. Então, essa está sendo a estratégia dele. Porém, os carros que já foram para a pista estão muito rápidos. Se a gente fizer um comparativo com o tempo dele de ontem no treino livre, um pouquinho arriscado. Vamos ver.
I believe she was talking about Eduardo Taurizano, if I'm not wrong. And he's actually using tires that have been used previously, I believe, in yesterday's free practice. So that's a gamble, because his tire situation is theoretically worse than that of his competitors, and maybe he can struggle a bit in order to advance for Super Pole. But of course, if he does so, then he has a better tire situation for the pole position fight. As we see now that the track temperature is way higher, 21 degrees. We had something around 14 degrees Celsius in the beginning of the Carrera Cup qualifying session.
Which is cold, but not that cold, right, Carlos? It's cold for us in Brazil overall, in general. Of course, in the south part of Brazil is colder. São Paulo, it's close to the south, you know, if you consider Brazil, but it's still kind of in a tropical region, although it's not at the sea level, São Paulo, which makes it a little bit colder. As we see Antonella Bassani with her beautiful Porsche, sponsored by Mobil One. We see there she got her first victory in the last race in Goiânia, so that was a very good result. Of course, she's been on the rise, and let's see where she will go, you know, but for sure there are lots of expectation for her development within this class. So far, none of the drivers got among the top, the pole position, the first time, not the pole position, because pole position will be the next session. But see there, Carlos, number 88 of Eduardo Taurizano, who you mentioned before, who is coming from the development category that Porsche Cup Brazil created this year. He is there in the third place, followed by Antonella Bassani, and then the championship leader, Marcelo Tomassoni, in fifth place so far. So we are expecting these drivers to improve their times in these last couple of laps that they have remaining.
Yeah, and actually Taurizano has competed only once in this Sprint Challenge Championship. It was in Goiânia the previous rounds. He was competing actually in this category, this cool category that you said, that is Porsche Sprint Trophy. So a very good result as well for him, independently on what happens. And just to talk about the weather, the main thing is that even though São Paulo is quite close to the southern region of Brazil, The altitude is a factor. It is something around 800 meters above the level of the sea. So that's a factor, and that explains as well why it is quite cold. And we are getting close to the final stages of this qualifying session. The clock is ticking. So far so good for Taurizano, now leading the pack, first position for him. Just to mention the altitude, Sergio, for example, in the Formula One calendar, it is actually the second highest altitude, just losing to Mexico.
Agora vamos combinar, né? O que eu cantei de bola do Célio Brasil deu certo. Quis colocar o Taurizano ali em xeque e paguei a língua, hein?
Yeah. Renata Diniz talking about the tire gamble of Eduardo Taurizano that she explained and I translated. So far, so good for Taurizano.
This is Urubatán Jr., Porsche number 1. Let's see if he improves his time. He is in 14th right now. And he upgraded to 11th, which is not good, Carlos. 11 is not good enough for him to go to the final session. Let's see if he can get another fast lap. Number 77 is Josimar Jr. Josimar Jr. right now is not among the top 10. Josimar Jr.
He's 16th.
16th, yes. It's been a hard qualifying sessions for the main sprint challenge drivers.
And he improved, but not enough. 11th, Josimar Jr.
11th, yes.
Let's see Miguel Mariotti's lap time in his final attempt. He's in a dangerous situation, but I believe he will be.
Yeah, I think he'll be okay there in the 8th place. Right now he's in the 8th place, so I think he should be okay. But anyway, it's not a super comfortable situation. And he goes to the pits.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Considering the cars that we have on track, he was not under threat. So that's a shame for both Josimar Jr. and Urubatán Jr. that are knocked out. Good for Sebal Malucelli, San Joaquin, Sadaki Leite. And we have to praise Anoms and Ramos' effort so far. Second and third in this amalgamated lap times. Let's see what they are able to do in the final qualifying session. As we see there, Ruben Carrapatoso, a former karting world champion, beating Fernando Alonso in the beginning of the 2000s, actually the end of the 90s.
Yeah, great Brazilian driver, Rubens Carrapatoso. He raced in other categories as well. And as you say the word praise, Carlos Aldo again, praise Eduardo Taurizano. That's pretty incredible for a driver who is just kind of starting his career. Of course, he has experience in racing. He's not coming out of nowhere, but he's starting his career in the sprint challenge category. Potentially, he could get a pole position here for this race, which would be pretty incredible, considering it will be his only second attempt to get pole position, as during the four races, the four first rounds, not races, the first four rounds of the championship, the pole position of the second race is defined by a draw between the 5th and the 8th places of the first race. Then in the last two rounds, we actually have a pole position for each of the two races as we get closer to the end of the championship. So that's how Porsche Brazil works.
Which is an interesting format, I would say. I like it at least. And of course, in these two final rounds, the qualifying session gets a little bit more important, and that's fair because the grid position in the final rounds is definitely an important factor, as we see images from Urubatán Jr. that is actually knocked out already, and now the cars and drivers preparing for the final qualifying session. We see that Eduardo Taurizano, just remembering once more, he has a fresh set of tires for this qualifying session because of the tire gamble that he made in the previous quali session. As we see also Antonella Bassani, the only female driver of this grid and the first female driver to win a race in Porsche Cup Brazil. So let's see what she's able to do now with Bia Figueiredo on her radio, which is a very good help, I believe.
Yeah, Bia Figueiredo is not only her coach, but she manages her career, which I think is very good because Bia is a very experienced driver, and she does other things also related to motorsports racing in Brazil. Among them, what you already mentioned during our transmission, Carlos, that she chairs the committee for development for female drivers in the Brazilian Confederation of Motorsports.
De estar com pneus usados para essa primeira tomada de tempos. Mas deu certo, né?
Deu certo. A gente tem pouco tempo de classificação. Colocar pneu zero, às vezes você acaba perdendo bastante tempo até tirar a cera do pneu, ele aquecer. E graças a Deus nossa estratégia tem dado certo e, se Deus quiser, vamos ser vitoriosos.
É isso. E mesmo com o pneu usado, a gente viu que o seu tempo ideal, perto do que você fez, está muito próximo ali. Então agora tem bastante potencial, entrando com zero na pista, para a gente conseguir ver um tempo mais baixo ainda do que você já conseguiu fazer.
A ideia é sempre procurar melhorar, né? Se Deus quiser, vai dar tudo certo.
Isso. Uma estratégia diferente, Luke, ousada, que a gente vai conferir agora na pista. Obrigada, Edu.
Obrigado.
Bom treino.
Yeah, we heard there from Eduardo Taurisano. He actually explained his tire gamble for the previous qualifying session. He said that sometimes you actually lose a lot of time in order to hit the new set of tires, or the fresher tires that sometimes the drivers choose to use. So he gambled with the used set of tires for the first qualifying session, and now he has a fresh set for this Super Pole quali session, and of course less traffic and so on. Theoretically, actually he will be in the middle of bigger traffic because we have the cars from the sport class division, but then he will be able to focus just on heating the tires in order to have two fast lap attempts there. So let's see if he manages to get a good result. And of course, as you highlighted, Sergio, it is already an impressive result from Eduardo Taurisano, given the fact that he came from the school category that is Porsche Sprint Trophy. And as you said, it's not a start of racing career, but actually in Eduardo Taurisano's case, he's going back to racing, if you can say so. He had a previous experience that was out of the races for a while and now coming back with such a good results.
Oh, I thought it would be they would give the green flag for this final session. Not yet. We see there ahead the number 15 of Artur Ramos. Artur Ramos got the third best time so far of the qualifying sessions we had. He's in the sports class, and it calls my attention, Carlos, that 5 drivers from the sports class are among the top 10 there. 2 drivers of the main sprint challenge class were out. This is again Antonella Bassani. She was the second best among the sprint challenge drivers, but she was 4th overall in the combined times, as we see this beautiful image of the cars leaving the pits. I love this exit pit road in Interlagos, Carlos. I think it's a very interesting, a very challenging exit pit road. And as we see the cars there moving to hit the track for the final time this morning, remembering that races start at 1 p.m. Brazilian time here at the Porsche Cup Brazil YouTube channel. You have the live English stream for those who are watching outside of Brazil. Races at 1 p.m. Brazilian time, 12 p.m. US Eastern time, and 4 p.m. GMT, Carlos.
Yeah, that's it. You can watch also through the motorsport.tv platform. So a lot of channels, a lot of feeds in order to watch these races. And we have to remember that these races are very interesting. If we have a competitive qualifying session, you can bet that the races will be even better because we have everything: overtaking maneuvers, defensive driving, from time to time some crashes, Luckily, these cars, they are very safe as well. A part of being reliable and the most produced race cars in the world, they are safe as well. So you can expect good things. So join us this afternoon for the first of 2 races of both of the championships that we have this weekend at Interlagos, the Carrera Cup and the Sprint Challenge Championship. We also have the Sprint Trophy, school category, but we don't broadcast in English. But anyway, it would be nice to see it. As Werner Neugbauer previously said, Sergio, we are starting that decisive moment of the season, now starting the second half of the championship, and of course, any bad result will have an impact, even though we have the discarded results, but now they cannot afford any mistakes anymore.
That was Gustavo Zanon in the number 33. This is the Sprint Challenge leader Marcelo Tomassoni. He's having a great season so far, Marcelo Tomassoni. We might consider him the favorite to get the title, although we have always to highlight that we are just starting the second half of the season and things might change. Things have changed in the past. Many times we've seen some drivers dominating the first half, but then to fading out a little bit in the second half and not getting the championship. And let's see, Marcelo Tomassoni, so far no driver yet has set up a flying lap. This is Artur Ramos. Who is your bet for pole position, Carlos?
Well, considering the tire situation and his performance so far, I would bet on Eduardo Taurizano, even though it is a bold bet, I would say, because as we explained, he's coming from the school category, this Porsche Sprint Trophy, but so far his performance has been very good. And we have to remember that his main class rivals struggled a bit in the previous quali session. That's why we had Zanon and Artur Ramos second and third, right behind Eduardo Taurizano. Let's see from Renato.
Não apostou em mim, entendeu? Não me deixa nessas, Monteiro.
She was just joking because she was asked about her bet, but she doesn't want to compromise herself, Sergio. But anyway, so far she has been highlighting important factors of this qualifying session. She pointed out about Eduardo Taurizano's tire gamble and also Célio Brasil's performance in the previous quali session. Let's wait and see now.
Yeah, I like your for Tomassoni. I think we really is the favorite, but I would like to see. I think either him or Antonella Bassani would be a very nice story. Sadaki Leite from the sports class gets the best time so far, but they should improve, Carlos. It's one they are running on the 840s, 1 minute and 40. But they should improve that time for sure before the end of the session.
Yeah, definitely. There is still time to come. We can, for example, compare to Célio Brasil's lap time that it was around 1:39.9, and actually he was outperformed at around 1 second by the pace setter so far, that is Eduardo Taurizano, so something around 1:38.5 or something like that. Let's wait and see, because theoretically the track is in a better situation than in the beginning of the qualifying session, but sometimes drivers make mistakes.
Wow, so far, now we have again the Eduardo Taurizano on top. Christian Moore there, great work by Christian Moore. We have to remember he's the second in the championship, so Christian Moore very close to Eduardo Taurizano. So far they are starting. This is Christian Moore that you see number 3. Now we see the number 66 of Sadaki Leite.
Look at the top 4 already.
No, actually Tomassoni is in third, yes. And we have in first place Eduardo Taurizano.
Sadaki Leite now.
Sadaki Leite now in third, yes. Tomassoni championship leader is in 4th, Antonella Bassani is in 5th. Then we have number 100 of Seba Malucelli, Gustavo Zanon. Then we have Miguel Mariotti. In 9th place so far, it's Arthur Ramos and Sun King Ho in the 10th place so far. But we still with 3 minutes to go in this final qualifying session that will define the pole position for the sprint challenge race that we'll have this afternoon here at the Porsche Cup Brazil channel.
Yeah, but I believe this lap times will be better and better. We still have 2 minutes and a half to go, and after that, probably a couple of final attempts. But anyway, well, now we see 1:38.5 or something, even less than that, Sergio.
It's impressive. Now Taurisano. Taurisano is after it, Carlos. That's your hint for the pole position. He's doing really well. Christian Moore is still in 3rd. And then in 4th we have right now Miguel Mariotti. Let's see. Sadak Leite. He improves to 5th. Great work by him. He's 2nd in the sports class. We still follow Sadak Leite. About 1 minute and a half to go. Decisive moments in the sprint challenge qualifying session. Or that will be the 7th race of the year for this category. 7th, 8th race of the year. We had 6 races in the first half of the championship, and now we have 6 races on the second half, 2 races per round.
And look at Eduardo Taurisano's first sector there. Yeah, good lap time, but this final attempt, I would say actually that it is the penultimate attempt, but Taurisano has an interesting sector 1 and 2. Let's see. He improved 1:38.2.
Very disputed final seconds of this qualifying session. Oh, look at that. This is Sadak Leite. We have Eduardo Taurisano, Antonella Bassani, then Gustavo Zanon, Christian Moore, and Sadak Leite. Top 5 so far.
Interesting, this last attempt by Antonella Bassani, because her sector 2 was very good, but sectors 1 and 3 weren't that good. So just 1:45.70 there, way behind her best lap time actually. And I believe it will be it, Sergio, but let's wait and see.
Top 9, Carlos, are separated by less than 1 second, which it shows that this is a very disputed pole position fight. I agree with you, it will be hard someone to take Eduardo Taurisano's first position, but there's still some cars trying one last flying lap. So let's see, this is Christian Moore. Christian Moore, who is 4th. Let's see if he can improve. And he'll cross the line, so he will try one more. He'll try to improve his time. Christian Moore crosses the line and he stays in 4th. So no change for Porsche number 3. Going to the pits now. That was, I believe, and on the track, number 21.
Miguel Mariotti.
Miguel Mariotti, yes. And that's it, Carlos.
That's it.
That's
what
it.
A pole position from Eduardo Taurisano, Sergio, because considering these factors that we have been highlighting, we have to praise his performance. Just his second qualifying session in the main sprint challenge class of Porsche Cup Brazil. As we explained, he was previously racing in the school category of Porsche Sprint Trophy. We see there the pit crew from Gustavo Zanon, also actually a very good result for Gustavo Zanon. We see there Rafa Martins, his driver coach, with the Porsche jacket there, the red and black one. And Antonella Bassani, also one of the high points of this qualifying session. Her final lap attempt wasn't that good, but anyway, a very good result for her. As we see there, Marcelo Tomazoni, the season leader, that had actually a result that wasn't that good, considering also his expectation. We certainly can assume that Marcelo Tomazoni was expecting something better, given how consistent he is throughout the whole season, and also last year. But anyway, just P6 for him, behind, for example, Sadaki Leite, that is from the sport class. Then we have Christian Moore fourth, ahead of Leite, Gustavo Zanon, Antonella Bassani, and Eduardo Taurisano. Just to talk quickly about Miguel Mariotti, that's a poor start of Saturday for him, because he led yesterday's free practice, but now with that issue in the end of qualifying and starting 7th, which is not that bad, but he certainly expected something better. But we have to praise Eduardo Taurisano, Sergio.
Yeah, it's his first pole position, so that's in his only second race, so that's excellent. And I believe as well for Antonella Bassani, Carlos, will be the first time she'll start in the first row in the first race, where there is a qualifying session to define who the starting positions. She started already on the pole, I believe, but it was after the draw of the first race that we have. So that's a very different scenario. So she's now by her own means, and it's really good to see her competing just 143 behind tenths of a second behind the pole position. So it was an excellent result for Antonella Bassani, and the two will start in the pole position.
Yeah.
In the pole position, the first row, sorry.
Yeah, first row there, but it is a very good result, and she can attack Eduardo Taurisano right in the beginning of the race. It is interesting because now she's a little bit more experienced, at least in this Sprint Challenge Championship, than the guy ahead of her, that is Taurisano. But anyway, good expectation for today's races, both of them, I would say, given the fact that we have interesting grids for the Carrera Cup race 1 of the weekend, and then also Sprint Challenge race 1. Of course, we have 2 more races Sunday. Let's hear from Renato Diniz. I believe that she will interview
achei que seria
Eduardo
bem
Taurisano.
arriscado.
That's it.
Mas que estratégia boa, Eduardo Taurisano. Muito bom para começar o final de semana, cravando a pole na Sprint Challenge, hein?
Sim, tô emocionado, não acreditei também que eu pudesse chegar e evoluir tão rápido. E graças à minha equipe, sou muito grato ao Mário, ao Juliano, o Léo, que está como meu coach. A gente tem feito um trabalho dentro de casa muito bem feito e graças a Deus deu certo. Amanhã já vamos para a corrida, né?
Amanhã não, é logo menos. Hoje e amanhã. A primeira já sai hoje. Parabéns.
Obrigado a todo mundo. Valeu.
É isso, é bom demais quando vê a emoção, quando a emoção passa pelos olhos, né, Luque Monteiro? É isso.
Yeah, nice interview there. Actually, Eduardo Taurisano was struggling a bit to talk because he was very emotional after this pole position, and he highlighted what we have been talking about throughout this broadcast, Sergio, the fact that he was able to evolve and develop himself as a driver very fastly, starting the year in the school category championship of Porsche Sprint Trophy, now already getting a pole position in the main sprint challenge class. So that just shows how competitive he has been and how he has improved as a driver throughout these last months. We have to praise him. And now he has to prepare for today's race, the first one today and then the second this Sunday, as we will once more hear from Gustavo Zanon, the pole sitter of the sport class.
A gente não vai esquecer Acho que o trabalho desse final de semana começou na quarta com a Jaque, né? E durante todo o fim de semana a gente foi entendendo um pouco o carro, melhorando. O Rafa conseguiu ali entender o que realmente eu não estava sentindo. E, cara, o carro tá na mão, tá gostoso de dirigir, é gostoso de sentir quando você tem controle do carro, parece um kart. E tô muito feliz, não tem nem como expressar minha felicidade. Primeiro na categoria, top 3 aí, terceiro geral, tomando só 2 décimos da pole, então tamo ali, tamo no pare, vai ser uma grande prova aí, tô bem satisfeito.
Justíssimo. E a gente aguarda a prova que vai ser já já. Obrigada, Zanão, parabéns.
Obrigado, viu? Abraço.
Luke.
Yeah, now Gustavo Zanon, as did actually Eduardo Torizano, saying a big thank you for his pit crew. Once more mentioning his special livery and actually celebrating his first top 3 position in the grid overall, of course, considering all of the cars of the Sprint Challenge Championship. So that's a very good result for him. As I said previously, the reigning rookie class champion now with good performances already in the sport class division of the Sprint Challenge Championship, and just 2/10 behind the pace setter that was Eduardo Torizano. Sérgio.
In short, we should expect 2 great races this afternoon, starting at 1 p.m. Brazilian time, then 12 noon Eastern US time, and 4 p.m. GMT. For now, that's it for us. Thank you very much for you all who watched us here at the Brazilian Porsche Cup YouTube channel. Thank you very much and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.